we have 6 main theories on the sources and origins of language. The first one is called the divine source. According to this theory, it's believed that language is God-given gift to human species, and it started when God enabled Adam to name all animals in the Garden of Eden. So according to this theory, language is a holy gift given from God to human beings, and it is God who enabled human beings to use language. And this theory is adopted by religious scholars, and those religious scholars believe that even if children were brought up without learning any language, the first word or language they use is part of the divine language. So the main this theory is God, and this divine environment started when Adam named all animals in the Garden of Eden. The second theory, which is completely different from the divine source, is called the natural sound source. And following this theory, it's not God who enabled human beings to use language, it's nature that enabled human beings to invent and use language. According to this theory, it's believed that language mimics the natural sound and words, which are imitations of the sounds people hear around them, such as the word splash, the word bang, the word boom. So these words, they mean the sound they have is exactly the same as the meaning these words refer to. So following this theory, words that are produced following the sounds they have is called onomatopoeic words, and this view is called the Bowel theory of language origin. And in this theory, words sound similar to the noises they describe. So for example, the word splash, the sound of the word splash, similar to the meaning of the word, which is the splash of water. So this word means exactly what they refer to, or the sound of the word means exactly what they refer to. It has also been suggested that the original sounds of language may come from the natural cries or emotions, cries of pain, the cries of anger, the cries of joy. So ha, for example, for joy means exactly what they sound, or they sound exactly what they mean. So the word yuck, the sound of this word means exactly what they refer to, so which as something disgusting. So the word whoa for joy, the sound of this word means exactly what it refers to. So according to this theory, the sounds people hear around them, or the sound they hear from the objects around them, is the source of the words they use in order to communicate with other people. So it's not God who enabled human beings to use language, it's nature that enabled human beings to use language. The third origin is called the social interaction source, and this is completely different from the two previous theories, the divine source and the natural source. According to this theory, human beings themselves, they do develop language, and they are the source of language. And this theory suggests that language is originated when human beings used sounds while doing cooperative work. So when human beings, they do physical works, or they use some physical efforts, they produce some sounds, and then they develop these sounds into words in order to communicate. And this is referred to the Uefu Theory, where language produced while doing physical works or physical efforts, and these sounds turned into words. So when people do the physical works, they do some set of hums, grunts, groans, curses. All of these sounds human beings produce while they do physical works were used in order to communicate between each other, such as, for example, lifting large trees, and they say oh when lifting large tree, and this sound time by time in order to be used for communication among our old ancestors. So according to this theory, language is originated from people themselves when they try to use the sound they produce when they do physical efforts into words, and then these words into language for communication. The fourth theory is again different from the previous theories, and following this theory, the origin of language is not from God, it's not from nature or human beings themselves. No, it's the physiology of the human beings, the body of the human beings. Human beings have organs that enable them to use language. So, unlike other beings, human beings, they do have the vocal organs. They do have a specific form of teeth, lips, mouth, and lungs, or flexible tongue that enable them to use language. So, because of this physiology within the human body, human beings can use language. So we have small mouths in comparison with monkeys. We have vocal tracts in comparison with dolphins, and we have lips which make it easier to open and close the mouth for faster speech. So all these vocal organs enable us to use language, to invent language. Of course, we have the upright teeth in regular size, allow human beings, allows to produce such sound like san, ze, than, the. The organs of speech have a complicated muscle system. One of them is the tongue, which is really flexible and moving backward, forwards, up and down to produce different sounds. So according to this theory, because of the organs we have, we can produce language. So the organs allow human to produce language, and without these organs, humans cannot use language or produce language. So according to this theory, the source of language is the organs and the physiology of language that enable human beings to produce and invent language. Tool making source. And our ancestors used complex tools for their everyday life, which might help them to develop language invention. And according to this, tool making and language use. So the way that we develop tools, the way that we make tools, is similar to the way we develop language. So our ancestors try to develop language in the same way they tools or make tools. Stick inside, or the handle inside. So the same two sounds together to make a word, or you bring two words together to make a sentence in order to communicate with other human beings. So for example, the manual gestures, when human beings started using both, they try to work together. Simply they bring two stones together for making a tool. The function for speaking and object manipulation are very close to each other in the left hemisphere of the brain, which is called the lateralization. And this theory suggests that all languages have inherent structural organization. The last theory on the source of language, or the origin of language, is called the genetic source. And according to this theory, language is invented, produced, or is because of the genetic source within the human being. So human beings started as in a relatively short period of time, the larynx descends, when they are born, and then the brain develops, the child assumes an upright posture and starts walking and talking. So this genetic development within the organs of human beings, or the body of human beings, is similar to the development of language. And because of this genetic development, human beings can use the organs of speech in order to use language. So without this genetic developments of the brain, the lips, the teeth, the tongue, there is no development of the language. This is called the innateness theory or hypothesis of language origin, and which posts that language capacity is the result of mutation and pre-programming for language, and this follows genetic developments of the body organs, including the brain and the speech organs. This theory was that all children can use language, and of course even they are born of deaf parents, because they have genetic developments within their body, and this genetic developments has nothing to do with their parents. So this genetic developments allow them to use language because they do have larynx, they have brain developments, they do have upright posture. All these genetic developments enable them to use language. Thank you very much, and please stay tuned for coming videos and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Bye for now.